In this video, I want to share with you how you can not work harder than your kids and how you can inspire your kids to do what they need to do in their lives even when they don't want to. Okay, so here's the first thing. Your kids are struggling with something, right? Let's say they're not doing their schoolwork, they're not getting help, they're falling behind in school. Let's say they're having challenges with some of their friends or a romantic partner. There's some kind of a struggle that they're having, and they're not doing anything productive about it, okay? First thing is, fine. It's okay, right? I mean, unless their safety is at risk or they're putting someone else's safety at risk, struggle is not bad. It's not terrible. In fact, the fact that young people struggle can be a good thing when they learn to navigate it in the most appropriate way. So I'm going to talk about how you can do that, how you can support that process. So first of all, fine. Take a deep breath. Remember that struggle at that age is a really helpful and essential part of building emotional resilience that'll have them feel more independent and more successful when they launch into their young adulthood. Okay? So first step, fine. They're struggling. They're not taking accountability for it. They're not doing what they need to do to resolve it. They're not handling it the best. Fine. Right? Fine. Take a breath. Let yourself know that it's probably going to be okay. In 95% of cases I've seen, when young people have started to struggle, if you look at 3 to 5 to 7 years later, and I've worked with a lot of families for this long, they end up being fine in their lives. They make it into young adulthood. They've had some moments of trouble. Maybe they got in trouble with the law, with legal stuff. Maybe they didn't do well in school. Maybe they had to get their GED. But most of these people, maybe even higher than that, 99%, are doing fine. And in fact, probably doing great. And I work with the percentile of kids who are really, really struggling, who are suicidal, massively depressed, extremely anxious, abusing drugs, addicted to drugs, those kinds of things. And most of them make it out just fine. So chances are that your young person who's struggling right now in middle school or in high school, and they're failing classes, or it looks like they might not pass the year, or they're having some significant issues with their friends or romantic partners, they're going to get through it, right? So first thing is, fine, let it be. Now here's the critical part. Don't take responsibility for their problems. Your responsibility lies in providing support, being an advisor, being a consultant, and thirdly, and probably most importantly, is providing the right kind of structure and boundaries for your kids such that they stay safe and they learn independence in an incremental way. So let's take an example here. Your son is struggling in school, hates the teacher, is bored in class, in fact, is getting more and more distasteful with the high school experience. He's bored in class. Why am I learning this stuff? It's so stupid. It's not even applicable. When am I going to use algebra in my life? I'm never going to do this stuff. I want to be a carpenter. I don't know what I want to be, but I'm never going to use this stuff. He might even be right. And then you'll probably say, well, it's about like the act of educating, of doing things that are hard. It's important. It's important to learn. It's important to kind of use your brain, even if you're not going to use it. They don't care, right? So one is, don't try to convince them that there's value in something they're not getting value in. Let that come from them, that exploration of let them strengthen that muscle of how to create value from something when there isn't any apparent value in their experience. That's their job to create value from an experience that they have to do. They have to go to high school right now, right? So, okay, there's no way out of it. Don't try to find a way out of it for them, or don't even try to really help them unless they ask. If they ask, great, but this is the whole thing. Don't work harder than them. If you work harder than your kids, in this example, at getting value out of high school when they don't see any, you're removing an opportunity for them to strengthen that muscle of how to enjoy something they don't innately enjoy. All of us, including myself and probably you, have had to work to enjoy things that we had to do. I mean, some of us maybe just suffered through it, but if you're watching this video, you probably are more engaged in your life than the average person, right? So don't work harder than them because you take an opportunity away. They need to learn to work harder was something that they have to do and find value from it, enjoy it. Maybe if they just suffer through it, that's fine. Let them do that. They'll learn something from it a year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years from now, who knows, right? Here's another tool. Be curious about how they're going to navigate it. Okay, so you hate your teacher, you're failing? Okay, what are you going to do about it? I'm just going to fail the class. Oh, well, are you going to go to summer school then? No. Oh, well, then what are you going to do next year? Oh, I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, I trust you'll figure out a solution, or you might find yourself being held back next year or going to summer school, which I think you're going to hate even more than this teacher. Relieve yourself of the accountability of finding solutions for your kids in this way and this kind of criteria. There are other places where you'll need to find solutions for your kids. But in this example, in these kinds of examples, be curious about how they're going to navigate the struggle that they're engaged with. And don't feel or make yourself responsible. Here's the energetic secret of this. Kids can feel, young people can feel, and actually most people can, but as we get older, I think we become less sensitive to this. Young people can feel when their parents have taken responsibility for something that they are supposed to be responsible for. They may not be aware of it, and often my experience is I see them do it subconsciously. They're like, some of them are kind of like, oh, I don't have to worry about this because my mom is super worried about it. Oh, nice. So they chill out. They're not feeling any tension. They're hanging out with their friends. They're doing whatever. They're doing the things that they enjoy doing and not the things that they need to do that are hard for them to do, which that's where the juice of growth really is for them. But they can feel that you're feeling responsible for it, so they even do less action. They get less involved and don't feel the really helpful stress of needing to do something and needing to figure out a solution because they know that you're so worried about it. And they know that you're feeling more responsible than they are, that you're working harder than they are with that, right? So let them deal. Resist the temptation for you to feel responsible for it. Be curious about how they're going to navigate it. And here's the third piece. Don't bend your expectations. If your expectations are that they get straight A's, you might want to bend those, right? I would not bend the expectations below passing your classes. They may not go to a 4-year university, right? They might go to a trade school or find some just work after high school. Let them, great, fantastic. Let them find their way. They're on their own life's journey. But don't bend your expectations unless your expectations are very high and rigid and don't meet them really where they are, right? For the example I gave of like you have to get straight A's. Maybe they're even capable of getting straight A's and you're very clear about that and you know that they can and they're not getting straight A's. Maybe I would bend that down to A's and B's, but I probably wouldn't go further than that. And expectations around like, if you don't get that thing, then I'm not going to pay for your phone. If you want to get a job and in addition to school and pay for your own phone, that's fine. But I'm not going to pay for your phone unless you get a 3.0 grade point average because I know that's what you're capable of. No big deal, right? And try not to get emotionally charged about it too. I know that it can be hard to see your kids not live up to their potential. But if you zoom out and have a global view of what their life might be like, and if this is your first child, you probably don't have that. For me, as a helper, as a therapist, as a coach, as a monk, I've worked with kids for 20 years, and so some of the kids that I've worked with now are in their 30s and 40s, right? And so I've seen them like they turn out great. Again, 99%. Your kid is not the 1%, most likely, right? So just don't bend your own expectations. Relax. Don't be charged. It's gonna be okay. It might be painful for them, but the more that you work harder than them, the less they get that juice of the opportunity of growth, which is really what you're after. Because that's what they need to get in order to launch into being independent in their lives, okay? So don't work harder than your kids. Let them deal, resist the temptation you feel to be responsible for it. Be curious about how they're going to navigate it, and don't overly bend your expectations. You've got this. All my best.